Sit with Lexi B.
Tameka, how are you?
I'm good.
I'm so excited to have you here. We've never met in person, but I remember I started following you on LinkedIn and I was like, you know what? What sis is selling, I'm buying.
I could chat. I'm very much a chatter. Yes.
I like it. So thank you for being here and thank you for responding to my DM.
Yes, thank you for having me. I'm always excited to be able to like connect with another Black woman and really be able to have like the conversations that we want to have. I think that is amazing. So thank you for having me. I'm honored.
So before we get into this very scintillating topic, what is in your coffee cup? What are you drinking with us today?
Ooh, so what is in my coffee cup? Honestly, with the week that I've had, it's definitely gonna have to be like a really hard lemon drop. Okay. That is definitely with like double vodka.
Okay. So not as bad, because I was thinking like brown paper bag liquor, but you've bougie. You've leveled up. Okay.
I do. I am a bougie drinker. Yeah. I am. My fiance makes fun of me for it all the time. But yeah, I'm a lemon drop French 75 kind of girl,
I love it. I dabble in a lemon drop. I dabble.
I love that. Yes. So something that's more pack a punch would still be, a little pinky up kind of drink.
I remember when I started drinking after 21. For the legal people that are listening.
Right.
And I would go to bars because you don't know the drink's name yet. And I'd be like, I want a very cute glass.
Oh, period.
Yes. And the waiter was like, but what's in it? And I'm like, you could put cherry Coke in it, but the glass needs to look a certain way, sir.
Yes. The setting must always give. I definitely agree.
I need the ambiance. I love it. And where are your people from?
Yeah. So my family immigrated here from Haiti.
Okay.
Back in the late 80s, and I was born in the early 90s. So I'm first generation Haitian American. I am very, very proud to be so. Haitian Creole is my first language. I'm very connected to like my culture. Yeah. I grew up with my grandmother, and she came here when she was in her late 40s, early 50s. So she was only speaking Creole in the household. There was really nothing else, or you would never understand. So I ended up speaking Creole before I spoke English, which actually bit me in the ass a little bit when I went to pre-K, but I made it. So,
but let's talk about that. Can you still speak Haitian Creole?
I do. Yes, I speak.
Okay, so here's the thing. I have a theory, that's not 100% backed by science, but I feel like if I did like 2 hours of Googling, I could give you the stats. Okay? I think that children that grow up in multilingual homes learn the art of code switching better and faster. And hear me out. I'm defining code switching as it should be defined and not as it is weaponized, because they are different. Code switching is weaponized as you have to act white.
Yes.
Code switching, the literal definition is how you talk to your grandmother is different than how you talk to your mom, which is different than how you talk to your man or your woman, which is different than how you talk to your cousin, right? And I fundamentally believe that obviously if you are born in a bilingual or trilingual home, when you get to pre-K, I can only imagine how weird it gets.
Look,
you're going to have a couple of months of like, what is going on? But once you get through that, just how your mind works and how you identify with people and how you walk in the world, I think you are just a level up. So congrats to your parents and shout out to Grandma Tameka, because I love this for us.
I appreciate that so much. And I love how you define code switching, because as a first gen, code switching is inherent because I'm a completely different person in the household. I had to be a different person in the household versus who I was like in school or with my friends, because my parents were Haitian. They were not about to have me out here doing anything that they perceived as crazy, right? Like regular things that children and teenagers did because of how people are brought up in Haiti. That's what they were trying to bring me up as. So immediately I learned code switching immediately. I knew that when I got home, angelic. Okay. She listens, she cooks, she cleans, she does everything you ask her to so that I could be outside when I needed to. Because when I was outside, I definitely was more of what I would consider like an American child, an American teenager. So yeah.
I love it. I love it. Shout out to Hayden. Shout out to Hayden. Okay. Okay.
Yes, please. And shout out.
So today we are talking about, I'm going to put my professional hat on. Well, not my professional hat. I always tell people I'm always professional. I'm just not always corporate. They're different.
Ooh,
put my corporate hat on, and we'll call it the alignment of dating and your bag. Because, girl, while I do not publicly share all of my personal rendezvous publicly, I would say that I had to learn this lesson very hard, which is whoever you decide to date, regardless of the reasons you decide to date them, it 100% affects your bag, which means it 200% affects your life.
Oh, period.
Right? So let's get into this.
Yeah.
When did you realize that there is an actual alignment with who you decide to partner with, whether it is one night, whether it is 2 hours, or whether it is the rest of your life, and the lifestyle that you currently live and or the lifestyle that you actually want to live?
Yes, I think that's a great question. So for me, that started clicking, I would say, my first year in grad school.
Okay.
So I am 22, 23 at the time, right? I actually was in a serious relationship at the time. I identify as bisexual. I was in a relationship with a woman at the time. Very not in alignment with my life, right? So we talked a little bit about the fact that I'm Haitian. It caused me to have a very clear disruption between the two parts of who I was. And that's when I started learning, right? That's when I started seeing romantic relationships for how they either propel my life, cause divots, or pull me back, right? Because I do think that there's a middle ground here, right? Like it could either propel you, it can pull you back where you realize that you're standing still. But I also realize that it can cause fractures where you are now kind of straddling the line between different selves. And that's really when it started to click to me that I was like, okay, this dating stuff, I'm not hacking it the way I thought I was. And I thought I was. I thought I was. And that's also the same year that I started going to therapy, started really trying to figure out who I was. Because I was starting to see the inconsistencies and I realized that I was not on the path that I really wanted to be.
You know, therapy has broken up a lot of relationships. Therapy broke up almost all my relationships. Therapy will do that to you, okay? It'll break up the romantic ones. It'll break up the friendship ones. It'll break up some of those family ones that need to be broken up. Bless your heart. But I always, and I say it jokingly, but it's very true. When you start doing your own work, your circle gets very, very small.
Yes.
Because your ability to have patience for other people's ish goes, it decreases drastically. So what did you learn in therapy about you, it sounds like, where you were like, this relationship isn't it for me?
Yeah. Honestly, a lot of people might chalk this up to me being a Gemini. But I learned how to evaluate my experiences.
Okay. Tell me more.
And that was one of the biggest learning experiences that I had in therapy, right? So instead of allowing myself to feel and thus react in terms of anything I was experiencing, from dating to my familial relationships to my friend relationships, instead I learned to ask myself questions to understand, okay, where is this reaction coming from? Is this a me thing? Or is this inherently a part of my person? Because there are some things that are just inherently a part of your person, right?
Yeah.
And understanding, okay, do I want to still do this? Do I still want this to be inherently a part of my person or not? And up until that point, it sounds crazy, 23 years, But up until that point, I was never actually taught how to process my feelings.
Well, no, I'm going to pause you there because I don't think that sounds crazy. I think a lot of people are having problems processing their feelings. And fun fact, I'm currently sleep training a child, and it is horrible. And I talked to her doctor, and my daughter's doctor literally said, you have to keep going. And it's funny because she's a Black Asian woman. But anyway, and she said, I want you to think of it this way. Yeah. Every time it gets hard, think about the number of adults that you know that A, do not know how to self-soothe effectively and appropriately, and B, know how to process feelings. And I was like, girl,
look.
And she responded, we were texting, and she said, it starts with sleep training. And I was like, ain't nothing but a word. So you know what? When I had that revelation, sleep training became a lot easier in my house. Yeah, because every time that she screams, I just think like, I am giving you a life skill.
Yes, it is. It is a long-term commitment. My consistency here is going to pay off. Even if tonight, I'm wondering why I did this, right?
So tell us about that, because I do not think that's crazy. I think the majority of adults walking in this world do not know how to process feelings, do not know how to communicate feelings effectively and appropriately. I think that we can communicate feeling, but you screaming and throwing things might not be the most effective and appropriate.
Exactly.
So tell me about that. Yeah.
So I am 100% capable, or at least at the time I was 100% capable of saying like, this is frustrating me. This is disappointing me. This is bringing me sadness, right? I've never been one to run away from my feelings. Like, I don't necessarily enjoy crying, but my body does it. If I gotta cry, the tears gonna fall.
Let it out.
So I've never really been someone who was like defiant against my emotions, but at one point when that relationship ended that I was having with the woman, I had just started grad school.
Yeah.
It was just fresh. And for the first time, I was being challenged in more ways than one in my life. I was being challenged in school, which was something I had never had to deal with, right? Like studying always came second nature. I now was going through a breakup I never expected to be going through at the same time. And for the first time, I was living away, right? Like Haitian.
That's a lot of stuff. That's a lot of stuff at once. Yeah.
It is. Community is something that I've never had to go without. And for the first time, I was going without it. All of these emotions, and I'm like, all right, I can attribute this emotion, sadness, disappointment, frustration, anger, to this breakup, right? I can attribute this emotion, like longing, like feeling out of place, loneliness, to not being with my family. And what am I going to do about it? At a certain point, I became what I would consider a recluse. I wasn't leaving the house. I wasn't leaving my apartment if I didn't need to. I lived alone, so it's not like anybody knew. Right. I was in grad school and in college, so you know how easy it is to just say, I'm not going to class today, right? I'm not doing anything. Ordering food to my apartment, and at a certain point, it was about over a week since I had left the apartment at all.
Yeah.
And it was at that time, I was like, okay, I'm fucking up. Yeah. For lack of a better statement.
Yeah. Like, something's wrong. Something ain't right. Yeah.
Something's really wrong, you know? And like, is this because I'm living on my own for the first time? I have a lack of accountability, or is it because I feel down and I have no idea how to process these emotions? And yeah, like I'm drinking wine all the time. Like I'm not going outside. There's no sun reaching my melanated skin. I'm not making friends, and I just got to grad school, right? Like I'm not creating connections with anybody. And then on top of it all, I have zero accountability because I'm not holding myself accountable either. So at that point, I was like, let me see what this therapy stuff might be about. Like, and also don't tell a soul, because my Haitian parents will not understand why I ever decided to make this decision. So I started going to therapy secretly. Trying to like make sure my insurance company does not tell my parents. And at a certain point, my therapist helps me understand, one, you have daddy issues, even though you grew up in the house with a daddy, right? me, wow, how can one have daddy issues when you had a daddy your whole life? Right? And two, you have been taught that all of the just allowing your emotions to swallow yourself, right? Like you can just feel your big, big, big emotions, feel them by yourself, and just let yourself feel them as long as possible. There was no structure to my emotions. There was no understanding where they were coming from. There was no trying to figure out how I could help myself. They felt so big that I just let them engulf me. And I needed to figure out a better way. I needed to figure out a better way to be able to give my emotions a name, understand where they were coming from, and then give myself, expectations for processing them and figuring out how I was going to do that. And funny enough, my first therapist, who was actually a white man, he helped me process a lot of that, a lot of the emotions around dating and my expectations with dating and my disappointments up until that time, realizing that I had no expectations for dating and instead was just trying to find the differential for what my parents' relationship looked like, for what all the other relationships around me look like, right? Yes.
Okay. I want to go into that because, girl, you are speaking to my soul. So tell me about the difference between dating for the specific values, factors, attributes that you have defined for you as this is what I want in a human versus dating and saying this person has all the stuff that I don't want because they are different.
Yep. Yes.
Tell me about that.
My goodness. Is the oh my gosh. I am now wow, I don't even recognize that person. So it's I'm trying to find this and I'm like, wow, like how could I have ever existed in this space?
But hug her because of her, you're here now. So hug her. Hey girl, hug her.
Oh yes. And I wish I could just tell her that this is not forever. Like you are going to figure it out because I remember how hopeless I felt in that time. But I would definitely say that for me, when I was dating in that space, it seemed to me that people would show up. One, there would be inherent sexual attraction because I'm a human being, right? That's usually what you first encounter. So two, the secondary thing is I would then build up a portfolio of this person and all the things that they could do wrong based off of what my father did wrong. And then it was up to that person to unknowingly delete things off of that checklist. Right?
Okay, so wait, so pause. So go back for me so we can make sure we understand this. Yeah. So we're looking at human A and we're physically attracted to each other, check mark. And then what you're saying is that now I want to make sure they do not do the things that my dad did.
Yes.
Without even having a conversation of what your dad did.
Yes.
This sounds healthy. Continue.
Yes. Absolutely. Okay. I think the best part too is that once we got through that checklist, let's say they didn't do the things, the red flags that came to my mind, they didn't do them. I was happy to just end there, right? It didn't matter who they were, how they were contributing to my life, where they were taking me, where I was taking the relationship. You didn't hit these things. So the rest of what you were, cool. Those aren't the red flags that I can't stand anyway. And then when the rest of it did become those red flags, relationship starts to crumble, it starts to fall apart. And now I'm like, why can't I get this shit right?
Yeah. I mean, I think that and again, I by no means am a relationship expert or a therapist, but I do think that all of us, we're not really trained to date, right? I was trained to do a lot of things in my life. No one ever sat me down and gave me a dating 101 class, right? So I think a lot of us look to the most stable relationship in our lives, which could be your parents, it could be an auntie and uncle, it could be the deacon and his wife at the church. I don't know, right? But looking at those stable relationships and actively making judgments and perceptions around them, which since you are engaged, you know that like nobody really knows what's going on in this relationship but the two people. So we're looking from the outside in and we're like, no, I don't like that. I don't want that. I don't want that. And then bringing that into how we're dating, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Absolutely. And now I would say like, so at that point, actually, I was in therapy for maybe about 6 months when I personally decided, I was like, okay, I'm going to abstain, no more sex, because you get real fuzzy up in the head once that starts happening and you just don't pay attention. So I was like, I'm going to stop having sex. I'm going to stop actively dating. Right. And I made that decision because one, I needed to focus on school, girl. I was not doing well. I was struggling. And two, I just wasn't navigating the dating scene well enough for me to continue investing the amount of time I was investing in it. Right. And I think on the side of really being able, and this was something that I was learning in therapy, was it's okay to apply logic to emotional stuff, right? It's okay to say like, okay, so I'm feeling very sad. I'm feeling very down right now. I'm feeling very frustrated. How long do I have to feel like this? I'm going to give myself a day. I'm going to give myself 2 days to feel my feelings. And then you got to put your big girl panties on and keep it moving, right? And so that was really when I decided, okay, you need to figure out a system, a way for you to be able to hold yourself accountable so that you're not just allowing your emotions to engulf you, but also you need to make a change to your life that's going to allow you to focus on the things that you actually want to change. So I went celibate. I was celibate for about a year. I did not date, did not talk to anybody. I took that as an opportunity to get my schooling together. I moved. I did an internship. I lived in DC for 3 months during a summer internship. Yeah, I just said yes to everything. And that was enough to distract me from dating and all of those things. And I learned so much about, okay, what do I actually like in people? In the people that I date, right? Like, reflecting on no longer the people that I've dated in the past, right? The past happened, they have come and gone, but instead, like, what does my ideal relationship look like?
Right.
How does that person treat me? What does that person do for a living? How do they support what I do for a living? Because I am a very ambitious woman. So I was like, I know it's going to be important for me to be with someone who understands that I want to continue doing those things. But also somebody who is, I would say, well-learned, right? I knew that I was dating predominantly Black men. I knew that I was encountering certain issues around like social issues that I was like, this because we Black. I know this is life. And I knew that I needed to find a Black man whose ideals aligned with mine. And so now for the first time in my life, I was actively making a list of pros. He needs to have this. He needs to have this. He needs to have this, based solely off of what I felt like would create harmony in my life. What I felt like
now you're dating selfishly. People don't like the word selfish. And I think selfish, when used correctly, is actually a great word. Because what I heard from you is that you were doing the work to actively decide, here are the things that I like in my life. Here are things that I don't like in my life, and here are the things that I want in my future life.
Yeah.
And so now you're looking for someone to add to that.
Yes.
So kind of standing in you and saying, you need to add to me, bruh, or girl, right? Or whoever. Instead of you trying to change or make do or compromise with what they're offering. That's what it sounds like.
I love how you said add to me. Because for the first time, I was seeing myself as my own lane, right? My own product that I was building on myself versus having a counterpart that is this project that I need to build myself and build that person as well.
Yeah, it's just too much. Like, Black woman resting is revolution. I did my projects before.
Oh my goodness. This is where
I do not want this for anyone. Like, project, no. I need you to go project over there by yourself. Get your therapy together.
Yes.
Get your money together. No, I am not a gold digger. Get your money together. Because if I'm coming to the Applebee's for happy hour with my money together, you need to do the same.
Girl.
Get your expectations together.
Yes.
When I say, do you like to travel? I don't want to hear, oh, no, no, get it together.
Please have a passport.
Right. And you know what? And if you don't, stand in that too.
Yes.
I'm not the person for you, but you can stand in that too. That's fine. But just have an opinion about something.
Yep. No, I completely agree. And honestly, at the end of that year, God sent me my fiance, and everything that you're describing, he unbuilt just brick by brick that strong Black woman trope, right? The Captain Save 'em, always having to be the best at everything, best at schooling, best at work, best at everything. But you also have to, wait until this man can build up to his potential, right? Like you got to be the one that's there, the one that allows him to. And instead, I got somebody who understood they were a project and they were building their own lane. And their lane so naturally matched mine. Nothing with my fiance has ever felt difficult. I've never felt like, I never felt like it was like, ooh, throwing us a curveball. Oh no, this is going to be like, this is going to be it. Like, we cannot do this. And of course, we've had our hills, we've had our bumps, right? But just loving him has never felt hard. And it's never felt hard for me to love myself. I've never felt like I couldn't be whomever I wanted to be with him by my side.
I love that. So can you give us an example, whether you make up one or it comes from your personal life, of what it looks like to align with someone on something? So I know I just use like the jokingly thing of like, I like to travel, you don't.
Yep.
That may or may not be a problem.
Yeah.
If depending on where I prioritize travel, and depends on like how much you hate it, right? Yeah. But to get more clear and more serious, what is another example of like, if this is something that you enjoy or you hate doing, and this person comes to the happy hour being like, I'm the exact opposite, this may not be your person, does not mean they're a bad person. Because I think that we forget that just because this person is not your person does not make them a bad person.
Yeah. Also learned that in therapy. It was like the whole chapter 17 of therapy.
Yes. Yeah.
So yes, no, I think that's such a great question because, and honestly, even as you framed it, I heard the answer.
Yeah.
But I really think it comes down to like that conversation, right? So a great example for me, I actually really love the just, I am somebody who is very professionally driven, right? I love my accolades. I love the titles. I like for people to look at me and be like, oh, okay, she runs shit. She's making decisions, you know? I have always been really forthcoming with my fiance about that. Like, this is my next move. This is what I want to be able to do. This is my idea, right? And it may not have been easy at first, but the adjustment has always been consistent. He continues to make room, right? It may not have been an inherent, I get that. I understand that, right? Instead, the person is like, I've never considered this before. It might be a no. I may not like it. Let me make room for it and see. Right? I'm going to learn why this is important to my person. I'm going to learn why this has to be a thing. Versus straight up being like, that don't sit right with me.
Got it.
I think that your person will consistently find ways to make room for you. And it doesn't necessarily have to be to their detriment, right? I think that it always makes it sound as if like, oh, they're going to make room for you to their detriment. No, it could also be that there's a part of them that recognizes this might be an area that they can grow in, or might be an area that they find positivity in that might be able to push them along as well. Let's see where it takes us. And then we will revisit the conversation if I'm reaching a place where I am at my limit. To me, that is what love is. That's what it means to find someone who is in love with you the way you are in love with them.
But let's take it a step back though, because what I also hear from you is in order to find that love, you have to love yourself and you have to know yourself.
Yes.
Quick fun story. I remember in my early to mid 20s, I wasn't loving myself. My dating life was a mess. But the point is that I wasn't seeking dating advice. I was seeking a financial advisor. And this guy, shout out to Davey in San Francisco. Our first few conversations about money, he never talked about money. He talked about lifestyle. And this man sat me down and asked me all kinds of questions that no one has ever asked me. Do you want to own a penthouse in Manhattan? Do you want a 3-bed, 2-bath, 30 minutes outside of Memphis? Do you want to be able to travel to Europe every month? Are we going to the Maldives on first class twice a year? Are we just doing a road trip to Yosemite? And so he gave me all of these options. Like, are we getting our hair done once a week? Are we only going every 6 months? Are we having a child in private school? Are we not having a child? Are we having 6 kids in private school versus 6 kids in homeschooling and making our own butter? All of these options are wonderful options if you actively choose them for you. Yes. And his point is that, and I remember a lot of our work was centered around money, because once you make those options, then we can start talking about a money plan for you.
Yes. Yep.
I don't think what Davey realized in that conversation was that he was also talking about a dating plan for me. Because it was really one of the first times where I had all these questions thrown at me and I had to sit there and map out well, do I want a penthouse in Manhattan or do I want a farm in Alabama? I need to figure that out, because guess what? If I want a farm in Alabama, which by the way, I don't, and shout out to all the farmers in Alabama. But if I want a farm in Alabama, right, then the next person that I date, if they're I want a penthouse in Manhattan, it's actually not going to work. And I just don't care how much we love each other.
Yep.
Right. So it was, for me at least, I don't want to speak for your experience, a lot of my work in dating and then figuring out my person who also aligns and supports my career. I had to first start with a lot of work with me. Because I can't come to the table and be like, I don't know, Lexi, where you want to live? I don't know. Lexi, how many kids we having? We're having -2. We having 15 and a half. I don't know. And I had to do a lot of work within me before I could actually start intentionally dating. But what about you?
Yes, I love that. I would say that I had to do slightly different work because I had to, for me, it was less about, what do I want? And kind of comparing and being like, okay, we're not finding synergy there. For me, it was mostly, what do you want? I want XYZ, them. I want ABC. Me, I could do ABC. Okay. And then coming to a point 6 months later where I'm like, I don't even want to do ABC. This is why I can't stand you. Now we breaking up, right?
Not for this. Exactly.
That's why at the beginning I preface all of this by saying, hey, this could be a Gemini thing. Because people are like, man, y'all really switch up something.
Just 2 days ago you said it was cool, but okay, I guess it's not okay. Cool.
Yes. But in reality, I just had such a all right, just go with it. If you're not seeing this in the relationship, just let it keep going, right? Versus being intentional about do you like this person? Do y'all actually have exactly what you were saying, right? Do y'all actually have synergy and do things align? Or is it well, I mean, it could be worse. Until I realized I actually like you.
That makes me so sad because I actually know people who are it could be worse. And I'm like, girl, this is your life though. I just, and for the record, I'm not saying you're going to like them 100% of the time, 7 days a week, all the time. Right? Because people are people. And I think that some of the best relationships, you get on my nerves sometimes. And that's okay.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
Shout out to the COVID people that stayed together. Okay?
Yes.
But I do think that there should, you should genuinely like this person. And really enjoy being around them. Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yep. And I think realistically where I am now, my fiance is my best friend, right? Even when I'm mad at him, I want to talk to him about him.
I love
And
that. Be like, let me talk about what you did yesterday.
no,
Like,
yes, like I need
can
you
you
to
believe your behavior?
turn off the fiance right now because this
Yes.
is where you had me. Okay. So, and
Yes.
it's just, and you're just never tired of being around that person, right? Like, but also, yeah, like it's like a zipper and we are slowly always zipping, right? Things might get caught in the zipper. We might need to kind of make room for different things in each of our space to kind of continue zipping up, but we are always zipping. Um, and yeah, like I think for me, when I was dating, things were constantly getting caught in the zipper, or I was just very abruptly pulling the zipper down when I realized, oh, this is going too far and I'm actually not happy here. Um, and I had to just really be able to have honestly similar conversations to what you had with your therapist and figure out, okay, like I've always had a very clear understanding of the type of lifestyle I wanted to live, right? I come
No, me
from,
too. Me too.
yeah,
My issue in life is that people would tell me that I was wrong for wanting that, and then I wouldn't communicate it. But go ahead. But like, little
yes.
Lexi B at 3 years old knew what was up. Okay,
Oh, yes.
this is how we are living. Okay.
Like my Haitian family, and this is something my fiance finds so funny. My Haitian family never raised me with a scarcity mindset around money. Okay, like we may have lived in what people would consider the hood, inner city Brooklyn, things like that. My parents constantly made sure that I had the things that I wanted. I had the iPod, I had the iPhone, like they bought me the clothes. I was the oldest, so for a very long time I was the focus. Two-parent household, two incomes. My mom she is super mom. Okay. I always say that if I can't be the type of mom that she is, I have no business having children because to this day, she is still momming me in so many ways. But I'd get into the relationship and the emotional side. What do you want? I just don't want somebody who does this, 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 and this, this, this. And my therapist was like, what do you want? Right? And I realized, damn, I actually don't know. Like, I don't know what I like in other people. I don't know what kind of relationship that I want. And then how do I marry that with the lifestyle element? Finding somebody who wants the same lifestyle as me, but also brings to the table emotionally what I need as well. And that was rough. That was really hard because it caused me to realize one, I like feeling my big feelings and letting it engulf me versus the other half of me that really just compartmentalized them too much. And that's how I was able to function, right? So it was either I'm lost in my work, I'm doing my work all the time, I'm not letting myself feel my feelings, or down in the dumps, feeling them too much, can't get myself out of this. There was never any middle ground there. And that is what grad school, like it kind of hit me like a truck in grad school when I was alone by myself that I realized I just did not know how to cope with anything, right? I'm either doing the damn thing, achievement, 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 and I'm using those achievements to distract me from that, or I'm in that sad, depressed, not leaving my house for a week and a half, no accountability, ordering food, just wasting away. um, and yeah, I really had to learn how to find a middle ground, but also find a middle ground in dating as well, where I could say, okay, like this is what I want both emotionally as well as lifestyle wise. And
I love that, and I'm nodding a lot so much in this episode because I don't usually talk about my personal life publicly, so I'm not going to start now. But the point is that I
you
felt
got me wrong now.
I think like what you gonna say, sis. But I've experienced a lot of that, and so
Yeah.
I'm trying not to tear up because y'all not gonna mess up this face beat. Okay, shout out to Naomi with makeup art. We're not gonna mess up this face beat, but yeah, I feel a lot of that, and I'm just so grateful to share this with you, and to also, like, I'm not gonna lie, selfishly, to know that I wasn't the only one going through these types of things because it's tough, y'all. It's tough.
Agreed. I have two very close best friends. I always say they know me in very different ways, but they are two sides of me. Maybe this is a Gemini thing again. See, it comes up and like I'm not a big like, is it astrology person? But then when it comes up and I make the connection, I'm like, man, could these people be right?
I'm not gonna lie, y'all Geminis be doing some y'all.
Like, yes. So I'm like, man,
Yeah.
I have missed something.
I have some Gemini friends, and sometimes I just gotta pray for my mental stability with them. I'm not gonna lie, like y'all
I
just
get it. Look, I get it. I absolutely do. But
yeah.
honestly, even my best friends, like I say there's two very different sides of me, but they
Mm.
are two sides of me that I connected with through a lot of that, right?
Okay.
Being able to realize like, okay, I'm not the only person who is struggling with XYZ. And even developing those relationships was very interesting. One of my best friends, she's also Caribbean, right? So we have the added value of like understanding each other's upbringing, the childhood stuff that contributes to how you make decisions every day and how you navigate dating. So when I found that in her, I was like, whoa, right? She's also queer, so she had that added element of like, yeah, trying to figure out the family element, like what do we say to them? What don't we say to them? Because there was a lot we just did not say. Like, and so in her, I found so much understanding and likeness in an area, honestly, where I was just starting to question that when I was in college. And it was like God immediately was like, here's somebody who's been navigating it just a tad bit longer than you. Hold on to each other. Right. And then my other best friend I met in grad school when I was going through this accountability phase, right? And I was going through this, like, trying to understand what am I doing wrong here? These things have always come so easy to me. Now I'm finding so much dissonance with school and dating, and nothing makes sense anymore. And throughout the entire time, when I was like depressed and locking myself in the house, she was like, hey, I want to be friends. Like, what's up with you? And it was just a consistent, like, "What is this? What's up with you?" And I remember there was one conversation, like, where I had with her where I was like, "I'm just like this. Like, I don't know what else to, like, to give you. Like, I'm just like this." And she was like, "Okay, but Imma hit you up in 2 days." So and I grew so much from having her. And we also connect through like the achievement part, right? The professional element, like we're both entrepreneurs, like we got each other in that way. And they are two halves of a whole where it's just like, this is all I need. This is all I need. So I agree that like finding understanding and being seen in that way, especially as Black women, as we navigate things that like sometimes only other Black women can really comprehend. Um, I didn't know even that type of love could exist until it was placed in front of me during times where honestly, like there were so many reasons where I may not have seen it.
I mean, maybe we should just title this episode "Love Heals" because it sounds like through this journey, whether it's platonic or whether it's romantic, I always tell folks, people who are in your life, they should heal you in
Yep.
some way. And
Yep.
that's what it sounds like. And look, girl, because of the healing and the love, look, your skin is glowing. Like it is flawless. Okay. Edges are edging, right?
Thank
See?
you.
See?
Yeah. No, I agree. Like you are the healthiest you will ever be when you are well loved. Like it's really honestly, I can't even clock this as tea. I really think that somebody needs to write a research paper about this. Because it just people pouring into you and you pouring into yourself and your cup starts to run it over and you can naturally pour into other people. And when your cup is running over, it's just being able to step out of that scarcity mindset of I'm going to see it half full, right? Sometimes it gets full. Sometimes it gets so full it's running onto the table. You can get there. And when you do get there, look, everything else falls into place because you just naturally can better care of yourself, take better care of the people around you. It really is life changing.
I
Life
love
changing.
it. So reintroduce yourself to us. Who are you?
I'm so glad you asked this at the end because
Yeah.
I didn't have an answer at first. And after this conversation, I feel like I do.
Yay.
Um, my name is Tameka.
Mm-hmm.
I am a product of intentional growth. And that intentional growth has become a defining element in my life.
Mm.
And that's who I am, just a continuous product of intentional growth.
I love it. Oh my gosh, I love it. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you
Intentional
for
growth
having me.
product.
This
This was
was healing,
fantastic.
just the conversation. So I
Mhm.
appreciate you.
Of course. We'll talk soon.
Of course.